Hello and welcome to my patch notes rundown for the 22nd of January. This week's update introduces some great modernized changes to player-owned farm, looting, Zamorak, and information pop-ups alongside a handful of graphical reworks to certain NPCs and monsters. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Herb and gem bags can now store noted items. This is a good change to accommodate the modern methods of doing Slayer where players blitz through endless tasks without banking. They would have a full inventory of items, which meant there was not much space even for noted drops. However, they currently do not automatically store noted herbs and gems in the bags when picked up, similar to how it works with unnoted items. Also, the Artificer's measure did not receive this change, which I assume is an oversight that will be fixed in the near future. The transparent information box that appears in the center of the player to display feedback can now be moved using edit mode. You can easily change this by going into the edit layout mode in the escape option menu, and from there you want to select the advanced options, and near the bottom there should be a checkbox toggle for info box. Move it to where you want and save. I'll leave this by default in the middle of my player character for the rest of the patch notes media to demonstrate how obstructive it used to be. When a monster dies, its click options are now hidden during the death animation. This is so nice, especially when wanting to reposition during crowded or dangerous situations. A good example is after you kill a Ripper Demon, there's no longer the worry of misclicking on their large hitbox when attempting to move away from the spinning death mechanic. This change also makes a lot of sense when considering that if you had previously clicked on enemies during their death animation, it would do absolutely nothing, effectively resulting in a dead click. Players can now disable the dragging of items in their backpack using a new padlock button at the bottom of the inventory. Inspired by old school RuneScape, this is reassuring that an input is going to go through when manually switching items by clicking them, especially in crucial moments, most common examples being shields and EOFs. Hovering over the invention button at the bottom of the inventory now displays the remaining charge time and current drain rate. Decrease the life points of runes from 25,000 to 12,500 during phase 7 of the Zamorak boss encounter in solo group size. I think this is a healthy balance. I believe that grouping up should always be better than soloing at the respective bosses, but the difficulty of having to burn down the runes in solo was not a fun experience since the runes' life points did not scale with group size, which meant that previously a solo player would have to do 5 times more damage per person compared to a 5-man group. If I could freely rework this entire mechanic, I would make it so that the complete order is shown to you right at the start. Then after the order disappears, the runes become targetable with 1 life point. When they're killed, they don't respawn, so there's no accidental chance of double killing them. And if you end up doing another phase, they will respawn again after the order disappears. This would make it purely mechanical without being a DPS check. Added a wiki button to the top right corner of the quest journal interface, and clicking it opens the quick guide for the selected quest. Player-owned farm trait rerollers can no longer reroll the same trait in the selected slot, and will also reopen the roll menu if the player has more rerollers. Completing the breeding log for a type of animal now passively grants the tier 1 perk for that animal. This places a practical incentive behind breeding every species of animal, and no, you can't use one elder animal in a single pen to go from your passive tier 1 perk to an active tier 2 perk. You still need both pens with an elder to gain the tier 2 perk. This is probably to prevent players from having 2 tier 2 perks of the same size animal, which I think at this point is an unnecessary restriction. Normalize produce and seed amounts required for farming requests. Reduce possible animal types from small and medium farming requests. Increased allowed breeds from medium and hard farming requests. And remove the need for specific traits on animals from hard farming requests. Rework the making planks interface via NPCs and the elite skilling outfit. It's a little inconvenient that you have to input the number of planks that you want to make every time, when I would assume that most people would want to make all by default. I would like to at least see a right click make all option, or similar to making leather, for it to be a left click make all by default. Fire Spirits now send rewards directly to the bank. Along with messaging to notify players exactly what rewards a Fire Spirit is given, there's also another message when the Fire Spirit despawns without collecting the reward. The buff now also appears on the buff bar, which boosts the bonfire XP of the next 1 to 5 logs by 50%. Added a 15-second reminder that incense sticks will run out. Hard mode Zilliana, Duraxor, and Strayu are no longer immune to Death Touch darts. Note that with Strayu, it will effectively deal 300k damage, phasing it to the Black Crystal mechanic where you have to jump onto his shackles. Continuing on with the community hit list. A number of NPCs and monsters have been graphically updated. These include Black Unicorns, Unicorn Stallion Familiar, Grizzly Bears, Chuck the Polar Bear, and Vanaka. I preferred when the bears looked fierce and grisly, but now it looks too cute. Whereas Vanaka, my man. The magic store owner that sells runes in the Yanil Mages Guild no longer wanders and has trimmed robes to more easily distinguish him. Added Necronium salvages to the Spring Cleaner interface. Increased the maximum length of chat history from 100 to 200. Area loot will now pick up any noted or stackable items from the ground if the player already has one in their inventory, even if it's full. The fletching bench in the Ranger's workroom now has a use option which opens the appropriate interface based on the fletching ingredients in the player's inventory. Remove Chikara's screech and Herman's yell during their idle animation. Necromancy is no longer taken into account when scaling the levels of monsters and bosses within Dungeoneering. And that's it for this week's patch notes. I would love to see more solo Zamorak rebalancing, such as toning down the healing mechanic that ramps up at 900% in rage. After making this video, it's quite shocking how much visual clutter the info box created when it was fixed in the center of the screen. Anyways, that's it from me. Thank you for watching and take care.